Broadcasting to the United States, Canada, and Tokyo, Japan. This is the Rich Stevens Radio Network.
All right, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I am Rich Stevens. It is Friday, TGIF, although obviously we're in a completely different world today than just yesterday. I mean, every day something else changes with all the hoopla over the coronavirus, COVID-19.
How is Mom?
I'm glad you asked. My mom is okay. Well, I mean, she's in a hospital still. And I actually went to visit her last night, and I was turned away. I was told there's no visitors allowed. And I said, well, when is that going to change? And I was told by security they have no idea how that's going to change. And I got to tell you, this upsets me very much. Now, I understand. I get it. So you don't have to lecture me. I understand we're in a very different world today. Right now, as we're speaking, things are going on that we've never had to deal with. And my mother's doctor told me a couple days ago that I should not go to the hospital to visit her. He's also my doctor, for two reasons. One, because I'm coming from the outside going to the inside, and we don't want anything to happen to my mom while she's in the hospital, of course. And number two, when I went into anaphylactic shock a couple of years ago, that has dramatically brought my immune system down. So I'm more susceptible than the next person. And I just got to tell you, it's just the part that's so hard for me to grasp my hands around is we're being told things that, and it's going to get worse, but we're being told what we can and cannot do. And I've never been turned away from a hospital before going to visit somebody. But I finally lost it. I went to Costco last night, and I saw this guy, and his cart was like overflowing to the top with hand sanitizers. He also had baby wipes, he had soaps, all the things that people are going to the stores going crazy looking for. And I just said, I said to the guy, I said, you're selfish. And then I hit him with a guilt trip like never before. Because there were so many elderly people and moms who need just exact these type of items. And he should be ashamed of himself for buying all this stuff. And then he says to me, dude, are you done? Because I really need to get back to filling the shelves. He worked there. I had no idea. But I did go to Costco last night. And I went to buy for my neighbor, who's a little bit older, asked me if I could get her a bag of dog food because she knows I was going to Costco. So I was going to Costco anyway, and now I'm in line, and there's a woman behind me, and she says, do you have a dog? And I looked at her like, I mean, you could just imagine the way I looked at her. But then, why would I be buying dog food, right? So on impulse, I tell her no. I said I didn't have a dog, that I was starting the dog food diet again, and that I probably shouldn't have because I ended up in the hospital last time, but I weighed 15 pounds less. I told her this is the perfect diet, and that all you had to do is carry the kibbles in your pockets, and you just eat a couple at a time whenever you feel hungry. Now, I also got to tell you that practically everyone else in the line was interested in my story. But this woman was frightened, I could tell. And she asked me if I ended up in the hospital because the dog food had poisoned me, and I told her, of course not. I told her because I bent down to smell the ass of a poodle, and I was hit by a truck. Now, I thought the guy that was right behind me was going to have a stroke because he was laughing so hard. I'm just trying to take the ball and just throw it in a different direction and kind of, take your mind off of things. But unfortunately, these things are happening. There's people here in South Florida, I don't know if they're doing it around the country, but here in South Florida, putting up, or re-putting up, I should say, Christmas lights in their homes. When I was driving home from Costco, I saw 3 homes that were full out decorated with Christmas lights all over again. And it made me smile, but now I'm thinking, do I need to break out the electric menorah and put that in the window. There's just something that doesn't. And I mean, I understand people looking for something to take their mind off of this, but it's a little bit difficult. But you got to pay attention, because I'm telling you, and I'll continue telling you, that there's a lot more going on here than what is right in front of you. Remember the little silver ball I told you about? The shiny ball? Don't keep your eyes on the shiny ball. Now, you tell me, is it a coincidence that just when our economy started booming, the stock market was setting record highs, we're winning the trade wars, school shootings have stopped, thank God, we've been at peace, and the Democratic Party is a disaster, and so is their likely nominee, who's going to be Joe Biden. I mean, he has a chance in hell, and they're not about to let our outsider, or I should say an outsider, Bernie Sanders, destroy their scheme. So it looks like President Trump is a sure bet for re-election after he's been fending off for over 3 years of investigations and impeachment. Then all the world crisis pandemic. The stock market goes down, the companies are laying off people, everything is closed and canceled. CEOs of these huge corporations are resigning, indictments are coming. And now they say there's a couple ways a president doesn't win election. And those are an unpopular war or a poor economy. But there's something bigger going on here, driving this sudden outbreak right after the president beats an impeachment trial. And especially the fact that if coronavirus actually did originate in China, who we're in a global trade war with, was brought on by Trump. Now think about that. Let's not forget that Biden's backdoor, his backdoor deals with China as well. China doesn't want 4 more years of President Trump either. It all seems rather convenient for the nations and opponents of our current president and economy 5 months before an election. Couldn't have hit at a more perfect time. Think about this. I mean, with the Democrats running out of campaign talking points in light of no school shootings, no migrant caravans at the southern border, fighting in Syria winding down, North Korea not firing missiles, and Trump beating this sham, scam, whatever you want to call it, impeachment. But the coronavirus gave him one last Hail Mary to try and point fingers at Trump with the clock winding down in 2020. I mean, this is almost the perfect fastest playbook. Control the population with fear-mongering and panic, control the media, spread propaganda, and the fan favorite, disarm the population. I got to tell you, and again, you're entitled to your opinion. I appreciate you being here to listen. But in either case, I don't think we're all going to die. Because remember when Ebola was going to kill us all, and then the media kept showing the piles of body bags that were prepared for the fallout, and then a month later, it was totally forgotten. Nobody was talking about Ebola. It's true that the common flu has killed more people this year already. The media is not saying anything about that. There's a handful of deaths out of 320 million Americans, and we are in a panic, tearing down our society and costing our economy billions of dollars in the wake. There's something that just doesn't seem right. Because the timing, it's too well timed, if you ask me. But there is definitely something going on. I mean, there are people that are suffering and going through this. And yet we're starting to see a couple, 2, 3 maybe, people on the television, that news programs that had the coronavirus, and now they're symptom-free. The CDC, and this I find very interesting, the CDC has told people over and over again, you could use Lysol and Clorox and all these things to kill the virus. Now, if we've never had this virus before because it's a new strain, how do they know that it will actually kill the virus? Think about that for a minute. How do we know that this hand sanitizer that we're all being told to use, that so many people can't find, is actually effective against this virus. Now, some may say, well, Rich, my Lysol can or my Lysol wipes or my Clorox wipes say on it coronavirus. Well, that's not this coronavirus. There have been several different strains of coronavirus in the past, and those are the ones that are on the labels. This COVID-19, brand new. And supposedly, here's what happened. And again, this doesn't make sense to me because there's so many different stories. Wuhan, China is where it happened. And it was apparently animals had it. And it jumped from an animal to a human who was infected, who got another human infected, who then traveled somewhere else and got other people infected. And then they traveled it just doesn't add up. And I know I said this the other day, but think about this for a second. So scientists have never seen this strain before. They're telling us that the Clorox and the Lysol and hand sanitizers will kill it all. Or even common soap, household soap, a bar of Ivory soap. That doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. It also doesn't make sense to me that out of all these people in the United States and around the world, that what's going on? Nobody's washing their hands? Because if they were, they wouldn't get the virus, right? Now, I'll admit, I was one of those people who kept saying coronavirus is just a bad flu. But we aren't like China. Our health standards are a lot bigger. And a lot has changed since I actually said that. You see, we have the chance to make this stop. I mean, if you knew that you personally could do something so someone else's mother or father or brother or sister or their cousin, aunt, uncle, you can make sure that they didn't die, wouldn't you want to do it? I mean, God forbid, what if it was your mom or your brother or your sister or your friend or your coworker? So if you want to go by what they're telling us, and I'm doing it, it's very easy. All you got to do is wash your hands constantly and use the hand sanitizer after you wash your hands if you don't think you did it enough. And even though you think you've done it enough, you probably haven't. But the best thing to do is to stay away from people. I mean, let's get serious here. You probably want to do that anyway, right? When was the last time we had a break from people? But if you don't feel good, even just a little bit, you got to stay home. You got to stay away from, going out and being around people. The interesting thing about being in Costco last night, I found two things interesting. One, I only saw two people wearing gloves. One guy, I actually watched this. I was about 10 feet away from him. He picked up a package on the shelf. He looked at it. Then he put it back down on the shelf. He put his finger with the glove in his eye and rubbed his eye. And then he picked up something else. And then he put it back down. I think that's weird. Scary weird. I also think it's weird that the cashier who's handling everybody's cash and or credit cards was not wearing a mask, was not wearing gloves. Now, I know why Costco did this, because they don't want to freak people out. Remember a few years ago when we had the, I can't remember what the powder thing was, but when you went to the post office and all the people behind the counter were wearing the blue gloves? I thought I would have seen that at Costco last night, but no. But you got to stay home, especially if you don't feel good. And you have permission to listen to back episodes of The Rich Stevens Show. You can get them on iTunes. You can get them on Alexa. I mean, there's a lot of places you can get it. iHeartRadio. But please, if you're going to listen to people, you got to listen to the CDC and the WHO, because they apparently have no agenda to report anything but the facts. Now, go wash your hands right now, as a matter of fact. I'll wait. Are you doing it? Probably not, because you're in the car driving right now while you're listening to the show, right? You see how that goes? As I said the other day, it's like I'm torn between understanding, trying to grasp the big picture and trying not to be swayed by the mainstream media. Because this is what they're trying to do. I don't care who you are or what you are. Just had to take a drink, sorry. But again, think of what I'm telling you as far as the Lysol and the Clorox. I actually saw a guy from the CDC on the news last night that said you could always use Clorox, it destroys everything. That's possible. But because they haven't tested it, how do you know it really works? No one knows. That's the fact. I saw somebody else also on the news that they interviewed a doctor, and the doctor said, spray down your counters and your bathroom sink and everything with Lysol spray, but don't wipe it off. Let it dry, because then there's a protective barrier. And while I believe there's a protective barrier, I have to say again, is this going to protect you against COVID-19? And the answer is, we do not know. Also, I am so sick and tired of people on Facebook telling me that, oh, my friend's mother's husband's aunt's uncle, daughter, who works at the government, told the cousin who told the aunt, who told the uncle, who told the nephew. I mean, you know, these kind of stories, that this is happening, that's happening. I've heard the martial law stories too. Is it true? I don't know, but I will tell you that yesterday afternoon while I was out, and this is very concerning to me, I did see a number of U.S. military vehicles driving down the road, you know, like a little caravan. Where they're coming from and where they're going, I don't know. But my guess is that either the president or Governor DeSantis in Florida here is going to tell everybody you got to lock down and stay home, which is what they did with California yesterday, actually last night. The governor of California said everybody's got to remain home. That's millions of people. Now, the military has been called up already, the National Guard, that is, which I guess is the military too, right? To run some of these drive-through stations for testing. But what I saw was very different than that, these trucks. The last time I saw this kind of activity, I was on a radio station in Tampa, and the radio station was literally right around the corner from MacDill Air Force Base. MacDill was, and always is, the main base for all kinds of operations. And I think it was if I'm not mistaken, the Iraq War. And when we were out sitting in a parking lot at the radio station, we heard and saw all these bomber jets and the stealth fighter bombers as well, taken off like one after another. We knew before anybody else that something was about to happen. It was that night that the president came on TV and said, while we're talking, we are bombing so-and-so, or invading, whatever the terminology was. So the fact that I've seen, and I've had several people email me and text me, by the way, you can do that, 305-707-7878, 305-707-7878, let me know what's up, or you can leave a voicemail message, I'd love to hear from you. And here's the other thing, by the way, I encourage you, I don't know if you have it yet, you might, but if you go into the App Store and type in Rich Stevens Show, R-I-C-H, Stevens with a V, Rich Stevens Show, download my app. And when you download the app and you open it, you want to say that allow push notifications. I promise I won't bombard you with crap, only good stuff. But on the app, I have this really cool tool on there now. Right under the menu, you could just press on my logo on there, and it gives you the actual real-time count of how many people are affected, how many people have died, and some other really interesting stats. And it's from Johns Hopkins. This is the meter, if you will, that the United States government is using when they do their briefings. So supposedly it's accurate. But go into the App Store, download Rich Stevens Show, get it on your phone. You could do all kinds of cool things with it. Oh, by the way, there's another thing you can do. If you ever wanted to get a picture with Donald Trump, the president, you can do it with the Rich Stevens Show app. It's so amazing and it's cool and it's a lot of fun. You can fool your friends, put the picture on Facebook. And by the way, go to richstevenshow.com. It'll take you right to the app. And at the same time, I'd love to see the pictures that you take with your friends or family. So again, back to the military vehicle caravans. Is that a sign of something to come sooner rather than later? I mean, I got to tell you, when I heard the other day that Simon Malls were closing all their malls, that's a lot of malls to be closing. Here in South Florida, the Town Center Mall closed. Wellington Mall was closed, I think, last week or the beginning of the week. And the thing that's so concerning is that it's TFN. Nobody knows. Till further notice. There's no end date. Just like the visiting at the hospital. Well, when can I see my mom? Well, we don't know. That's really scary to me. The malls being closed, stores and restaurants and bars and gyms being closed would be a good reason for the military to be called up, because all these locations are sitting targets for looters. We haven't heard anything about looters yet. When all of these businesses closed, there's nobody around. After I left Costco last night, I drove by the Town Center Mall just to see the parking lot empty. It was weird, because you never see the parking lot empty at the Town Center Mall. So it's possible that they will instate, or is it instate? Is that the right word? I think it is. Put down martial law, which means that the military is called up and they kind of oversee to make sure that curfews, we don't have one here yet, but I'm sure it's coming, to make sure that people that are non-essential people that go to work and such don't have any reason to be out on the streets, will be, if it's martial law, they'll be taken to a, I forgot what it's called. It's a government court and be locked up. I don't know for how long. I would imagine if it happens the first time, they'll just get a warning. But if this happens, if the military is activated, they supersede local and state police. That in itself is scary too. Now, I don't know if this is happening. I'm just telling you what the talk is all over the internet, and a lot of people are talking about this. But again, it's the sisters, mothers, brothers, so you don't know if it's true or not. But I personally witnessed several military vehicles following each other. So I don't know what that means. I don't think it's anything good. I think they're just planning, and or the plan is in the works. We're going to hear about it soon. I mean, to have the whole country shut down. And the other thing is, how long, if that happens, how long will it be shut down for? That's something else you got to think about. And it's scary. So like it or not, believe it or not, you do want to, the best thing you could do is stay home. Just stay home. If you got, like, I got to go out tomorrow, tomorrow, and pick up some medications for myself, because it's due on Saturday. So I have to get those. I don't have a choice. I don't want to go out, but I got to go out. There's three places that are worse to go. The hospital, which you can't go to now, a doctor's office, which is slim to none, and the third is a pharmacy, because sick people go there to pick up their medications. I don't want to use that pen to sign anything unless I'm sanitizing my hands down really good, or wearing gloves, which I'll do. Again, I wore gloves and a mask at Costco. 3 people asked me where I got the mask from, because it's a very good mask that actually protects your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. And I said, I got it from the hospital. She said, oh. And another guy asked me, I said, oh, yeah, I should have known. I wish I had known enough to buy those masks and turn around and give them to people, or even sell them, make a few bucks. There's nothing wrong with that, really. All right, listen, that's all I got for today. Just please pay attention to what's going on. Look very carefully. Search deep inside your heart. The only good thing about all this is that it is bringing people together somewhat. I'm seeing a little bit of calm down on Facebook, which is fine with me. All right? So I'm going to self-quarantine for a while until I figure out what's going on, but I will keep you updated right here on The Rich Stevens Show. Again, 305-707-7878, 305-707-7878, richstevensshow.com, and don't forget to get the app Rich Stevens Show, because there's all kinds of great things just updated a couple days ago. And you want to allow push notifications so you get important updates from me. It's me personally doing it, so you get good stuff. All right, so have a great day or night, depending on when you're listening to the show. And you can listen on Alexa too, by the way. All the information where you can get the Rich Stevens Show, iHeartMedia, is on the website, richstevensshow.com. Have a great day or night, and be safe.